Hello, everyone. It's Jerry at the Fledge, and welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. And today, you can probably tell that I am not at the Fledge. I am at Cranberry Lake Campground down in Marcellus, Michigan. The Fledge is taking a weekend off and celebrating abundance. So there's about 30 of us down here that are camping and kayaking and doing all kinds of fun things, trying to relax and reset and get ready for the roaring 20s to begin, which I think is what's going to be happening over the next several months. So to that end, someone else who is into families and entertainment and tourism and all of that, our very good friend, our great friend, Miss Joy Gleason. How you doing today, Joy?
Hello, everybody. I am really enjoying the start of summer here in the greater Lansing area.
Yeah, it's been amazing. The weather, I mean, my garden is starting to pop. I'm happy. I'm feeling good again. I got out of my funk from the winter. So, yeah, me too. What you been doing today?
Today is kind of a take it easy day. I really go at it pretty hard during the Monday through Friday. And this particular Saturday, because of the way that you do this, I get to relax. I don't have to run to some place and be on time and all of those uptight things. So kicking back, taking it easy. After this interview, I'm going to go out into the yard, get some things done with the flowers and plants. And it's that downtime that everybody needs. You're doing it big out there for the whole weekend camping. And I'm doing it little, kind of urban style, just in the yard, but definitely that thing that everybody needs, a little breath and a break away from the day to day.
Yeah, this is the first time I've been away from the Fledge, the first day in 2 years. I've been to the Fledge every single day for 2 years. It's amazing to me that I don't have to go today. So, let's talk about you a little bit. Tell us about where you were born and raised and where kind of what brought you to Lansing and what brought you to want to do Glad Tours, which we'll talk in a little bit.
Well, I have to give you the Cliff Notes version because I was born a long time ago in a place far, far away on the East Coast. In my early 20s, I got the wanderlust. I moved to a few different places. I lived down in Florida for a few years. And just side note about Florida, if you are not from there, it is intoxicatingly beautiful. The atmosphere is just like nowhere else. There's really just something in the air. But the people are crazy. So I had to leave. I met a guy down there who's from Michigan, and both of us not being native Floridians, he said, let me take you to Michigan. I'm from Lansing. That's how I got here to Lansing about 30 years ago. And although that didn't work out, one of the things that did work out for me, and it was kind of happenstance, I was walking through Adada Riverfront Park. There was a carnival setting up there in the spring, and a guy whose name I later found out was Crazy Frank asked me, he said, hey, you want to work? And I said, sure. So that was my interview, and I was hired. And I started working with the Elliott Amusement Company in 1990. And I really just had no idea what it was going to be. But I appreciated the work environment there, because what I found working in the carnival, and it turns out that I ended up working for some really good people. If I had worked for bad people in the carnival industry, I probably wouldn't have done it more than a couple of months. But I was working with some really good people, and the way that they did things was you got paid for what you were worth. for the value that you brought to the company, you got paid for that. So if you worked hard and produced well, you got paid well. And I got paid well. And I contrasted that with what I had been doing before. You know, in my day, you graduate high school and you become a secretary somewhere. That's what women did. And I had a really negative experience with being a secretary and being demeaned and, you know, watching other people get credit for and get paid for work that I was doing. You know, that executive was really great, but that was me who was editing everything that he said, and letters that went out, his communication was as good as I was, because if I wasn't that good, this guy was a bumbling idiot. So to go and work in a place where you were paid for your worth and your value, I found that really refreshing. I found that to kind of be sort of like the American way, you know, and I really enjoyed that. And I went back for another season. You know, at the end of the year, they pay you a bonus, and the bonus is their way of saying thank you for a job well done, and I hope to see you again. And so I did that, and I had a 20-year career working in what's known as outdoor entertainment. It's a segment of the leisure time entertainment industry. And it's through my connection with the carnival that, you know, I went to some of the conventions, and there are conventions both of the carnival people, but the International Association, the IAPA, International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions. That's where I got more into what are called stationary parks. In the industry, the carnivals are called mobile parks. We're mobile amusement parks. And that just let me know how much of what I did is like what they do in amusement parks, and the difference in how they view stationary amusement parks, how they view the mobile amusement parks, and the misconceptions that they have. There's just a lot of misconceptions about that. But again, within the industry, it's just as respectable as a person. My years of experience were just as valued by people, whether I was, you know, talking to people who were in leadership at Disney or at Cedar Fair. They respected my time in the industry just as much as if I had been at one of their parks. You know, they understand that what we do in mobile amusement is very much the same, and that our success is based on the exact same things. You have to give the customer a really great entertainment experience in order to get them to return, so that you can continue in your livelihood. And go ahead.
So did you travel around with the mobile park then? Did you go to different cities or states, or?
I've been coast to coast and border to border.
Wow.
So I've done some of the very best fairs in the nation, the State Fair of Texas, the State Fair of Minnesota. Those are arguably the best too. I prefer Minnesota because it's very hard hitting. They have consistent attendance of 1 million people per year at their fair, which goes for 2 weeks. Some people prefer the State Fair of Texas at Dallas, which also has 1 million people that attend it, but they're open for a little bit more than 3 weeks. So a lot more time to get the same amount of attendance. You know, that's my preference, but I have done a numerous amount of state fairs, some of the best venues in the state of Michigan. St. Mary's High School at Orchard Lake is our high school fundraiser in the state. It is absolutely fabulous, both to work there and to be in attendance there. The Cherry Festival up in Traverse City, the UP State Fair in Escanaba, which for what the way things are in the industry now, I think that the fair in Escanaba should now be the State Fair of Michigan, but that's just me and a few hundred other people. But yes, I can
So
remember, the same type of memories that people have in their lifetimes connected when you say, where were you on 9/11? On September 11, 2001, I was in Oklahoma City preparing for the Oklahoma State Fair. And, just like everybody else's life, that day just wasn't ordinary.
yeah. So, man, that it's amazing. I've got this song, I've Been Everywhere, man. It's stuck in my head right now because you must have been to so many things and so many, that I think about, you show up in a Kmart parking lot and throw up this fair. That's not what you're talking about, really. I mean, you are part, but you're talking about, the Cherry Festival and all these side things, the fundraisers, the state fairgrounds that you're in, that you must have seen and experienced and learned so much.
So much that you don't normally learn when you just stay in your space.
Yeah.
Because I talk about some big spaces, but I can talk about a little place called Hope, Arkansas. And in Hope, Arkansas, I remember going to get some breakfast and I told him I just want oatmeal. And okay, but don't you want, sausage or bacon or this? And I said, I don't eat pork. And it's like you could literally hear people's heads turn. You don't eat pork.
See,
As if I had fallen off the moon.
you got to be careful down south. They'll put bacon grease on their green beans, and you think you're eating vegetables, and you're eating pork. I haven't eaten pork in almost 40 years now. Wow, that's a long time.
So, lots of little places as well. And the interaction of people, something that I learned fairly early on, that I've never seen not be true, is that everyone always thinks that everybody either is like them or should be like them. To be in southern Mississippi, to where I can barely understand what the people are saying, but in their minds, they're speaking English. They sound like the newscaster on TV. And if I'm not like them, something is wrong with me.
Yep. Well, that's, that you said there was like some misconceptions about the mobile parks. And I don't, the thing I was thinking about is you're traveling all over the place. You had just said what women were expected to do, in your time, which means there was discrimination against women or bias or bigotry or whatever. And then to be a Black woman traveling around the country like that, was that tough? Was it easy? I mean, I just imagine it was very difficult though too. Am I wrong?
What made it easy is that the people who are in the carnival industry are also discriminated against.
Oh, right.
They also receive an incredible amount of bigotry that I've seen. The carnival owner, who is a multimillionaire, but he's a working man, and he go into a hotel, he's wearing his blue jeans and his blue work shirt, and he wants to get some rooms, and he's well able, and to have the person on the other side of the counter say, well, I'm going to give you these block of rooms because I hope those carny people don't come. And he just said, no, I'm not going to stay because I am one of those carny people. She thought it was just a hardworking man. She didn't see the person and said something like that. I remember a place down in Georgia. The name of the store was Roses. And at that time, we would get paid in cash. And so it was the day after payday. We were all going to the local store to get what we needed. And our pockets were full of money. But they didn't just follow me around in the store. They followed all those carny people. Those carny people got treated the same way that people know Black people get treated. And because they know discrimination so well, they don't practice it that way. Or at least, like I said, it turned out that I was with good people. And I was in a good insulated place. And you have to remember that our whole town goes with us. Wherever we go, it's the same 150, 200 people. We all go together. So we always had each other. So even if I go to some place that might normally be a sundown town for Black people, I would retreat into my town of people that were right there. And I always knew that they had my back. There was never, to this day, there was never, nobody has my back really the same way that the Carney people do. When I got married, more Carneys showed up at my wedding than people from Lansing.
You know, I think this is an amazing story. I think I understand a little bit more. I want to talk a little bit after we talk about your projects, but how, we were talking a little bit before the show about how, you're going to make this happen. You are tenacious. You have a vision. You have the knowledge. You have the experience, and the projects that you're working on, you're going to make them happen. Nothing's too big for you. And I love that about you. Cecil and I were talking about it earlier. And let's talk about some of those projects real quick. And I mean, GLAD Tours. You want to tell everybody about that? What GLAD stands for, and then whatever you want to say.
Right. GLAD is an acronym. It stands for Greater Lansing Area Destination Tours. And it is actually an effort, a stepping stone to a larger project. But what made me do GLAD Tours is that one of the things that you look for to have a successful business venture is to fulfill a need or a void. And so I did notice that there's a void here in Lansing. There are no Lansing tour services. There are people who are tour operators, and they set up tours for people in Lansing to go somewhere else. But there are no services for people who want to come to Lansing as tourists. We have a Greater Lansing Visitors and Convention Bureau, and they do an awesome, they are rocking it job at putting beds and heads in the hotels by booking in conventions and booking in a sports tournament. But all of those things, the people who come, their time is conscripted. They have to be to the game at a certain time. They're having the sports dinner at a certain time. They are not engaging with our community and finding out about Lansing, what's interesting, what our history is. They come, they do their thing here, and they leave. The same thing about people who go to conventions. The convention conscripts their entire time. I remember my first year with GLAD Tours, I thought it would be a great idea to tell all the convention hosts, all the people who were putting the conventions together, here I am, I have this tour service, I can do walking tours for you people. And as it turns out, I got zero business from that, because that's not what the conventioneers are interested in. They are interested in 100% of the time that their people have to do the thing that they came to the convention to do. We're going to have a breakfast for this. We have a breakout this. We have this mass meeting for this. We're going to have the after party that. And they also don't have time to engage with the community. So seeing Lansing as a tour destination in itself is something that the local people here have to wrap their minds around, because we don't see ourselves as interesting. We are not aware of the history that's around us. We really think about going elsewhere, where we want to be, where there's no beach here. There's no all the things that we say, and we miss all of the things that we do have here. So I noticed that that piece was missing, and Glad Tours fills that in. Um,
Yeah.
and since the time that I've started, I do a lot more business with tour operators from other places, bringing people here. I have a booking coming up in a few weeks for a busload of people from Texas who are coming to Lansing. They're going to be staying here, and they're going to find out about all of the great, interesting things and memories that can be made that we just kind of take for granted.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. How, a native of Lansing, I'm a native of Lansing, and it took some work to figure out why and all of these things about being proud about Lansing. But I'm definitely there. I mean, you were a part of that too, because you and I have had this conversation before. What would you say, like, what's the general reaction of people in Lansing about, like you say, giving a tour? I bet you it's like, what do they have to see? Like, we don't appreciate ourselves. And how
Yeah,
do you get
that is
over that?
exactly what happens. People from Lansing feel like I already know it all. And yet,
Mhm.
this year, the marker, the historical marker for the Malcolm X home site was destroyed. And as people started talking about it, there's a little buzz conversation going on about, I didn't know, I didn't
Yeah.
know, I didn't know. Well, there are loads and loads and loads of things that people didn't know. Um, Last year, I think 2019, there was like a year-long study done about the division of the African American neighborhood with 496 coming through,
Right.
and all of the things that people didn't know about that portion of the history. But what didn't get talked about is that 496 also went through another neighborhood, and a lot of other people were displaced. And it's as if those people are no consequence because they weren't Black people. But they were some very interesting people. And on uh, some of my tours through the town, I talk about whatever happened to Old's Castle. So
Yeah. What's Old Castle?
Old's Castle, OLDS. So that
Old
was,
Castle. Oh, right,
yes,
right, right.
right.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to Old's Castle?
Did it get destroyed by the 496 project?
It did at that. And do you know what the alternate name of 496 is?
Isn't it Old's Freeway?
It is.
Yeah.
They tore down his house and named a freeway after him.
Well, there we go. There's an interesting fact and a little bit of more history that should be talked about. Let's go back to Malcolm X for a second. Would you like to play that? Like me to play that intro or the intro or whatever it's called? Not intro, trailer for it.
Yep,
All right,
absolutely.
let's watch that real quick. We're going to be on the screen together while we're watching it here.
All right.
Hello, everybody. I'm Joy Gleason, lead tour guide for Glad Tours, and I'll be your guide on the Malcolm X Tour of Lansing, virtual edition.
Nice. Thank you, Joy. What do you want to tell us about it?
So Glad Tours has given the Malcolm X Tour of Lansing 3 times as an actual coach bus tour. We get on the bus, we go to many of the places that Malcolm X was here in the Lansing and Mason area. The Mason Historical Museum has a Malcolm X display, and they give a presentation while we're at their museum. They have an auditorium there, so the people get off the bus. We go and sit in the auditorium, and we have a presentation about Malcolm X and Mason. And that was very slowly gaining in popularity. Again, it's one of those things that the local people here in Lansing would need to know about and understand so that they could tell their guests who visit them, hey, when you come to Lansing, do this, or, let's make it an opportunity to do this. Well, we know that COVID made things different. And so I decided to give it a try at doing a virtual tour. And so I did a virtual Malcolm X tour of Lansing. And again, the important part is the of Lansing on that. So many people, when they talk about Malcolm X, they want to talk about the most impactful part of his life, when he was a national figure and the things that he did while he was at that level. And all of that is great. But here in Lansing, his time here helped shape who he was. These were the background experiences that were the fuel for what he did and why he did what he did. And it's all around us. And to know that this place can foster and create greatness, even in the face of some horrific situations. It's really inspiring, and that is coming from someone who wasn't born and raised here. I don't know if people who are born and raised here appreciate this place, but it's kind of for that reason that I want this to, and not just Malcolm X, but that's what this particular thing is about. But I want the local people to gain pride. I want the local people to be able to talk about Lansing in a way when they go and visit their relatives elsewhere in the country, that they don't have to say, oh, well, I'm from Lansing. Or that thing that happens when you're from Michigan and you go outside of Michigan and you tell someone you're from Michigan and they go, oh, Detroit. And you go, no, not from Detroit. Well, I don't want it to be, I'm not from Detroit. I want it to be, no, I'm from Lansing, and to be able to take pride in so many of the things. So, I am presenting this in a way that I hope is accessible to more people. The coach bus tours, it was $50 a person to take the coach bus tour because, you have to rent the coach bus, you have to, the amount of time that it takes. The coach bus tour is a 4-hour tour. This doesn't take 4 hours. It doesn't take $50. And I hope it just makes it more accessible to more people. I'm excited about what the potential and the possibility is for people seeing the Malcolm X tour of Lansing.
Yeah, I love it. Luna Brown, who's a frequent watcher, says his house should be turned into a museum. But did they tear down? I can't remember who did that. I want to say who it was, but maybe you don't want to say who it was.
Well, I can tell you that there's only one building that Malcolm X ever lived in this area that's still standing, and it was kind of a foster home. His father, Earl Little, built 3 houses, and all 3 of them have been destroyed. So that's wonderful to think that his house would be a museum. It's been destroyed. The elementary school that Malcolm X went to, he went to Pleasant Grove Elementary from kindergarten to 6th grade. And that too is slated to be torn down here within the next year or so.
That sucks that we're losing this history, and it's frustrating. What would you say your mission is? What are you trying to do? Why are you trying to do this for Lansing?
Because it's a place where I live and I love the balance here. I grew up in a place where I was 10 years old and I thought the United States was running out of room. Like, where were all the people going to live? And this is actually a suburban scale. And it's just so enjoyable. It's not so rural or far removed from people that you're stuck inside with nothing to do. You can always go out and find something. But at the same time, it's not so urban that people are packed on top of each other. Like I said, it's just so many wonderful things. And I want to make this place even more wonderful. I want to give this place the balance that it needs so that everybody who lives here really feels that sense of enjoyment. The mantra that I've heard, and I'm sure you've heard it because it just seems so evident, people saying over and over again, there's nothing to do around here. There's nothing to do around here. You know, the kids get in trouble because there's nothing to do. If only there was something for them to do around here. I did mention that Glad Tours is kind of a project that's really a stepping stone to something else. And so my passion project is to bring a family entertainment park here to Lansing. And it does come out of what I've learned in being in the amusement park industry or the leisure time entertainment industry. And I know that we are a diamond in the rough because it is highly unusual for enough acreage for a park to be built, to be available in the densely populated portion of the United States. The amusement park industry, although it started in the United States in the 1870s, 1880s, really exploded with Walt Disney. But what he did was he went to very rural places and brought up tracts of land. And they were both in the Sunshine State. So in the beginning, it was as if you had to be in a place where the sun was and things like that. However, over time and within the industry, we know that that's not true. So the company that owns Cedar Park, Cedar Point.
Yeah. Yes.
They own about 17 different properties in the United States and Canada, including some in Southern California and various different places. Of all of the parks that they own, where do you think is the park that grosses the number one for them is?
I could only guess the Sandusky Park, but maybe I'm wrong.
It is. No, that's right. Cedar Point, which has the least open days of all of their parks, actually grosses the most money. It's not in the Sun Belt. It's not their Southern California parks that operate year round. It's the park with the historical provenance that makes them the most money. That is the flagship of their company. So I know that being here in Lansing, it's not, all the things that people who don't know the industry that say ignorant things to me, I already know better than that. But it's communicating to our business community that they are missing out on an absolutely community-changing opportunity that kind of keeps me going at this, my passion project. And if I have to get you to understand that people coming to Lansing, because it is Lansing, should be a thing by taking people on tours as the greater Lansing area destination champion, well, I'm going to do that.
You've got me all pumped up for this park. You got me all pumped up about Lansing. I love what you're doing. What's something you do every damn day to push this forward?
The thing I do every damn day about this is to always have my feelers out there, to keep my ears and my eyes open for both opportunity to make something happen, opportunity to make it go forward, or when someone says something to me that I can take in and add into what I have now as the background and the business plan for the family entertainment park. I have to give Terry Bonero props for giving me an idea to name the park. That's really, really great. And I can't do it just yet, but it's something that I'll keep pushing on. So, in just a conversation with her, she came up with a great little nugget. And so I put that nugget into my family entertainment park creation bag to keep my eyes open. Oh, so you mean there's a whole golf course abandoned out in Meridian Township and they don't know what to do? That might be an opportunity. So just keeping my ears and my eyes open, keeping this on front of my heart and in the back of my head every day. That's what I do every day. I kind of live it and breathe it every day.
Luna put something in the comments on the side that I think you'll like. He'd rather have this over a casino any day. Right? We put a lot of effort to try to get a casino in here.
When the casino thing was going on, I was absolutely going to the casino meetings and saying, we could have this. You guys want to have something that will bring people into town? The rhetoric about the casino is that it would help us get more convention contracts. I say, you know why this would get us more convention contracts? Because all those other places have casinos, but they don't have one of these. Right. And one of the misconceptions that people have about in essentially an amusement park is that, those are low-wage minimum jobs. 2 days ago, Cedar Point put out an all call for workers. They have 300 year-round permanent jobs with benefits, $20 an hour. And guess who's thinking about talking to Cedar Point and figuring out how can I incorporate this into my life? $20 an hour, benefits. What's missing? What's so entry level about that? Like I said, in the amusement park industry, they know that they have to give great service. Service is what makes people return. That is paramount. And you don't get that from paying somebody minimum wage. Most amusement parks do not pay minimum wage. So that's a misconception that people are like, oh, well, there'll only be temporary jobs. You know what? There will be a lot of temporary jobs. And that keeps your college students in town. Instead of returning to wherever home is for those 3 months, they have a job right here and they stay in our area. And guess what happens after you work 3 summers in the area? You know more about the area and you're much more likely to choose a job after you get your degree in the area because you like living here and working here. And there's a really fun place for young people. But that's the part that most people don't know and they don't consider. They take their prejudices and they don't understand that you have to have executives to run the park too. It takes about 30 executives to run a family entertainment park like I'm putting forward. 30 executives would buy 30 executive style homes. How many people would that help them in their jobs? How many real estate people get helped? How much stuff do they buy from the home improvement center when you move into a house? So there's all of this ripple effect that I absolutely already know will happen, but I have to overcome the mindset of we've never done that. We don't do that. We don't have any experts in that around here. We don't know what you're talking about.
You're amazing, Joy. Thank you so much for doing this work to improve our city. I mean, I am so pumped up. I know I already said that, but I think that, I'm hearing the full story. Like sometimes you got to pitch this in 5 minutes or whatever to be able to spend 40 minutes with you to talk about this detail and this history of it. And to know that you spent 20 years there and how you did that. This seems super obvious to me. So I want to show you one more comment. This is a shout out to Omar. He is actually sitting right there. I'm the public information officer for the Malcolm Little Gun Club, the local chapter of the National African American Gun Association in Lansing. He thank you for your work, and we'd love to connect and share. So hopefully we can get some of those guys watching the tour.
Absolutely.
So now we go into the part of the show where I daisy chain the shows together. And yesterday I had a gentleman who's in the music and film industry, but he's also, a local kind of gets into the middle of everything kind of guy. And he talked about, or he wanted to ask you, what kind of cheese would you be and why? And I think this might be from like Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide from the Universe. So you got an answer for what kind of cheese you would be and why?
I think I would be port wine cheddar.
Oh, one of my favorites.
And the reason I picked port wine cheddar is because it is, first of all, a mixture of a couple of things. Cheddar is an American cheese, and there are varieties to it, but it's really American. But the port wine in it kind of represents the travel spirit, the forever wanderlust. And it's the two great flavors. It's a mixing of flavors and melding. So, I thought about like maybe like a pepper jack or something, but no, it's not quite it. But port wine cheddar, I think that's what I'd be.
I had mine as smoked Gouda yesterday. I'm changing it to port wine cheddar now. If Lansing was a cheese, what would Lansing be?
Oh, wow. I was going to say something along a similar line to that because the history of the indigenous people goes back at least 10,000 years. So I don't know what kind of cheese that they had, but I'm sure they must have had something like that in their culture, and just whatever that is. But then you mix in some of the European settlers and some of the African diaspora. It's just such a mix. I don't know. Is there a cheese that's kind of maybe Monterey Jack, but that's not quite it. But that is two different cheeses that make one. So
yeah, I was also thinking maybe Colby because it's kind of yellow and white or orange and white, whatever color cheese is, and kind of chunky like that. But then I was thinking maybe Lansing's just a cheese platter.
There you go. There it is. There, I agree with that. A charcuterie.
So, Claretta Duckett Freeman said hi to us. We should say hi back. Hi, Claretta. She said hi to you, actually. Didn't say hi to me. Tomorrow on the show, I've got Anna. She's the CEO of Liquid Gold Concept. What question would you like me to pass to Anna?
Knowing what she does, that kind of changes it. I don't want to be completely frivolous, but oh goodness. I kind of know what I want to ask, but the words, I don't know how to put them together in a sentence, in a questionnaire.
Right.
But basically, if there were no money tomorrow, what would you do next?
No money tomorrow. What would you do next?
Yeah, and like I say, I don't know. The essence of what I'm trying to say is if there's no more being able to trade, something that represents people's time and effort. Yeah. All of that is gone and wiped off the face of the earth. Now what?
All right. So maybe by you answering this question, you'd help us make sure we articulate it right to her. But I think you just did right at the end there. So I'll capture that. But how would you answer that question? What would you do? Then what for you?
I would the answer is in self-sufficiency, knowing how to make food for myself from what's available around me in my environment, knowing where is the fresh water and taking care of, being able to take care of myself. The basic needs become much more important,
Yeah.
when you have to feed and clothe and house yourself, and it's not as convenient as, you turn on the tap and the water comes out. It's almost like, would society collapse? And if it does, what would we do?
Yeah. It could get rough. I didn't think we'd tie this in this way, but I'm reading Octavius Butler's second book in the Parable series, The Parable of Talents. But that's basically what happens. The whole economy and society is collapsed in America, and they're growing their own food. They're kind of making their own village. They've got to figure out their own medicine. They've got to do everything. And that collapse, it's an amazing, representation of what you're talking about, I think. So,
okay.
Happiness, sadness, joy, and hope. How do those words fit together for you? What do you think about those words? We've already said joy and hope on the show, with Joy, Your Name, and Hope, Arkansas, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's happiness or whatever? What gives you hope?
Really, I am a hopeful and optimistic person. It's almost like nothing has to give me hope. It resides within me. But happiness and sadness, they're the two sides of the same coin. If there weren't some sadness, would you know how to appreciate happiness as much? If you were happy and peppy all of the time, would it become meaningless? Into every life, a little sorrow will fall. So,
what are you doing? You didn't tell us you were a singer too.
Because I'm
left
not.
That part out. Okay, all right. All right. Sadness, what?
Sadness is like it's a necessary thing. It doesn't feel good, but it's necessary. It's like taking bad medicine. The medicine doesn't taste good, but you'll be far better off because you took it. So, having sadness doesn't feel good, but it adds to your wholeness as a person. And you're far better off because you have a little sadness. It probably helps people have a little empathy because they remember something that made them sad and they don't want other people to feel that way.
Yeah. We Luna just talking about, it would become so ordinary and meaningless if we didn't have sadness. It's just as important as happiness to me too. I mean, without hell, there can be no heaven, type of thing. So, what did we forget to talk about anything or? Yeah, sorry, my phone's ringing in my ear right now. Okay, I got it. What we need to let's talk about some websites. How can people?
I was going to say that's the only thing we didn't talk about. Glad Tours. The site is gladtours.biz. It's the website. There's a Facebook, Instagram, and a Twitter. All of those Glad Tours. I think Twitter is glad, whoa, underscore tours.
Okay. Can people get to, then people could go there and find the video on Vimeo, right? Or do you have
Yeah.
a good link for that? So,
Um, it's on the front page of the Glad Tours page. They can link to it there. If you go to the Facebook page, I've probably made about a half a dozen posts that you can link directly to the video from there. And again, Twitter and Insta.
okay. And the Fledge's page has also shared the video, and I've shared the comments and all of that in the comments, the Facebook page, but we'll be sharing the video again and again throughout the next few weeks too. So definitely learn something about your city, learn something about Malcolm X that maybe isn't in the textbook or the abridged version, if you will, or unbridged. And yeah, let's get some more pride in our city because we're doing great things. We've done great things, and we're going to continue to do great things. And Joy, I think it's because of people like you. And I'm just so impressed and so happy that I got to spend some deeper time on this project because you've got me super pumped up about it. I get it. I get it so much better right now. So everybody, as I start to wrap up here, I'm going to, the Fledge is down here celebrating celebrating abundance. And we had a pretty good year, but it was a tough year. We've got a tough year ahead of us. And like Joy said at the beginning, we need to kind of refresh, recalibrate, and get our head on straight again, relaxed, play a little bit, and get back to work in a couple days. So, Joy, what would you like to take us out with?
Love, peace, and hair grease.
Ah, love it. Love, peace, and hair grease. All right, everyone. We will see you later every damn day at 2 p.m. Thank you, Joy. Bye-bye.